You are listening to 87.1 Caroline Radio, KCGN Bakersfield, and Blind Advocate Radio. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Aaron Richmond. This is Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we talk about issues in the blindness community. You can find Aaron's Opinion almost anywhere you get the podcast, or on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Hey, by the way, we're even on Patreon. This evening, I'm joined by a very special guest, someone who has never been on my podcast before, but I'm really glad to have him. I'm really glad he's here. His name happens to be Chris Benedict, and he's done a lot of work as a DJ, and I know that he has a lot to say. Well, Chris, I would like to mute my microphone and basically turn it over to you. You can talk for a good while here about basically anything that's on your mind, and if I have questions, I'll certainly ask and help you out as you go through your story. All right?
Sure.
Go for it.
So my name is Chris Benedict, as you already know, and I actually started to DJ in ninth grade. My ninth grade teacher wanted a party, and she said, "Hey Chris, can you DJ?" I'm like, sure. One time only. Well, that one time turned into a small business, and I've been doing it now for 20 years. 21 years. And then in seventh grade, right, a little bit before my DJ work, I started to do public speaking with a few sheets of paper, and now it's turned into a multifaceted PowerPoint presentation, keynote presentation, using an Apple computer, and I speak on topics on disability in general, cerebral palsy, how to start your own business while having a disability, how to use 911, and then my big one is about how to overcome emotional fear and pain. And yeah. So I do use a power wheelchair to get around, and I used to work at a technology museum in Santa Barbara, and until COVID hit, and then, well, as everyone knows, it went to hell in a handbasket. So I'm not doing anything right now. Do you have any directions you want me to go?
Sure, certainly, Chris. Really good. That's all very interesting for me. As your host, I appreciate all of that. Sure. So I think one of the things that I noticed is that you kind of went out of order a little bit. I think that to go back in the order that it happened, I think in middle school you were saying how you started taking these, public speaking classes and getting into public speaking, and then
right, yeah,
okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I am the same way, my friend. I jump around all the time, man. But you got into public speaking, and then from there you got into your DJ work. Well,
Yeah,
I'll ask you one question about the DJ work.
Sure.
So, okay, but when you work as a DJ, what specific DJing are you doing?
So, when I set up my gear, of course, I'm in a wheelchair, so I can't set up my own gear. So I hired someone to drive and do all the heavy lifting. And then I DJ for about 2 to 3 hours. And then my roadie brings me down and he drives me home. And then when I get paid, I pay him, and that's how it goes.
Right, and I do not name drop on this program, but I think I know who drives your show, and I'm really appreciative of that person because he's a really kind person, and he does a great job. So yeah, that's really good. But I mean, when you're doing the DJing, are you playing music? What types of music do you like to DJ? I guess is my question.
Okay. All right, great. Um, so my personal favorite is house or electro house, and but I will play whatever people want to hear, and people always think that when you DJ, it's just push a few buttons and there you go.
No,
No,
no.
it doesn't work like that. You gotta
So
turn
how
on.
does so how does it work? So walk the listener through it, Chris. Let's say they're listening to this episode and they have no idea. They honestly have no idea how it works. So how does it work from A to Z? One to 10. How does it work?
Right. So um so so you have a lot of equipment that you need to haul around. You got speakers, you got amplifiers, you got turntables if you're doing it by vinyl, or you do it by a controller, which is an all-in-one mixer and two DJ decks combined, which I use because of my disability. Um, I'm not able to play any on record because of my spasticity. So, the workaround for that is I use a digital controller, and all I do is push a button and it loads. And when you're playing the main song, you are queuing up the next song. So what you have to do is get the BPMs. Let's say you're at 128. You gotta load either half the same or double. What I mean by that is 128 times 2 is 240, 240 something. No, 256. Yeah, there you go. And then, or you half it, or you do the same. And then you repeat match both tracks. And the way I like to do it is some people just cut the volume on one track and bring up the other track. I don't like to do that. To me, it sounds too too choppy. So what I like to do is bring down the lows and the middles and the highs. And then when I'm doing each one, I'm bringing up the low, medium, high on the other track. And you gotta make sure that your waveforms are on beat, or else you will do something called train wrecking. And what train wrecking is when you aren't matched. and the janitor doesn't know what to do and you lose the crowd.
Good. Excellent. Great. Great. What are some what are some what are some tracks and some things that people have tend to request?
Well,
Or should I say the other question that I would ask on top of that is maybe what was the most outlandish request that someone has given you for a track?
oh geez. Um, um, you know, the most popular is basically well, actually, it depends on the day. So if I'm doing a wedding, wedding music, they might want Boys to Men, or they might want to have, Bear White or something like that when their first dance. And I mean, if you're doing a high school dance, they want to hear pop music and what's hot on the radio. Then it all depends on your demographic.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right, and that's a really fascinating aspect of podcasting to study too, like who's listening to you and and why they're listening. You know, sometimes I've gotten listeners from all over the world, and I wonder at a level, I have to wonder, well, what is it about me that is attractive or appealing, to people in another country? I would have to wonder that because it's interesting, Chris, when I stop and think about it and really analyze, well, really study the stats, really study the analytics. Have you, just out of curiosity, have you done any follow-up research to learn more about these demographics and how us podcasters should understand our audience better? What can you tell us? Because I do know that if I understand my audience, I understand my podcast.
Yeah. You know what? I really haven't because this is really a new platform. Because when I usually do a party, I'm usually there. Uh, hold on
Mm-hmm.
one sec. Hold
Sure.
on one
Sure,
sec.
my friend. Sure. Sure.
I'm done in my phone.
No problem.
Alright, there we go. Alright, typically the way it works is, I go to a party, people dancing, I feed off the energy, and if I screw up, I screw up. It's nobody else's fault except mine. And that's really powerful for people that have a disability.
Sure.
Because a lot of people with disabilities don't get the opportunity to fail. And people without disabilities want to feel good, so they will do things for us that really we should just fall on our beats and learn from our mistakes. And and if we don't learn from our mistakes, we will always be needy, and we will always look for the next person to help us. And that's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to fall down, learn what you did wrong, get back up, and start again.